Elvis Presley's granddaughter, Riley Keough, sharing her plans for Graceland.
Almost half a century ago, the second floor of Graceland has been totally off-limits. No tourists, no cameras, no exceptions whatsoever. Even Elvis Presley's most fanatical followers, the ones who have traveled across oceans and continents to simply set foot in the King's mansion, have never been permitted beyond that upstairs landing. To millions, Graceland has been a shrine, a museum, a cultural shrine, but always with an edge. That staircase, that locked door, and beyond it, the final and most intimate realm of Elvis Presley. Fans murmured, historians guessed, conspiracy theories ran rampant. But silence prevailed. Now, decades on, that silence is finally about to break. Riley Keough, the granddaughter of Elvis and the new Graceland owner, has made up her mind to talk. What she has to say isn't about tours or merchandise or yet another shiny tribute. It's about what has been kept from us for nearly half a century. Hidden rooms trapped in time, drawers packed with undelivered letters, a room that is less an archive than a lingering memory. For as long as anyone can remember, Elvis buffs have swapped speculation about what is being kept upstairs. Was it a private shrine lovingly maintained by his family? Was there a secret tunnel under the estate that Elvis escaped through? Was there unreleased music, the final tender songs of a man who could no longer handle the burden of fame? Riley Keough is not just unlocking a door, she is pulling back a veil. And by doing so, she is uncovering something even diehard Elvis fans never dreamed. But in order to know why the upstairs rooms are such a big deal, you need to know the history of Graceland itself. Before it was the most famous home in music history, before it was branded into pop culture and turned into a pilgrimage, Graceland was simply a simple southern home on the outskirts of Memphis. It was constructed in 1939 by a rich printing tycoon named S.E. Tuff. It sat on land that had previously been owned by his daughter, Grace, thus the name. The house itself wasn't showy by today's standards. 10 rooms, white columns, a wide porch supported by fields. It had charm, but no legend to its name. That would arrive in 1957, when a restless 22-year-old Elvis Presley, already too famous for his own good, came looking for shelter. By then, Elvis was the world's most recognizable performer. He could not walk the streets of Memphis without being besieged. He could not dine in restaurants without causing pandemonium. He required some place private, some place apart, where he could escape the pressures of fame that already seemed to threaten to consume him. Graceland was not the biggest mansion available to him, nor the most extravagant. What it provided was what he desired more than fountains or chandeliers: privacy. It was purchased by him not for its size, but for its potential. But, as history would demonstrate, fame has a way of permeating every nook. In time, Graceland was not only his residence, but an extension of his restless nature. Some rooms within the house spoke more about Elvis's life than any book ever written. The most iconic of them all is the Jungle Room. Carpeted in rich green shag and filled with intensely carved pieces that seemed to belong in a delirium rainforest fever dream, it was a room both strange and intensely intimate. To the uninitiated, it appeared eccentric, but to Elvis it was sanctuary, and it was there, surrounded by the tropical kitsch and gloom, that he recorded some of his last recordings. Melancholy, offbeat songs that reflected the conflicted mental state of an actor who had attained the peak of success but grew more and more lost. Beyond the mansion was the meditation garden, constructed in 1964 as a sanctuary of peaceful contemplation. Decades later, it would be his resting place. Today, fans whisper there naturally, as though the burden of loss lingers in the air itself. And since 1982, when Graceland was open to the public, over 20 million individuals have traversed its rooms, learned its exhibits, and attempted to envision the existence of the man who dwelled there. Nevertheless, in spite of all of this, one section of the house remained closed. The upstairs, his sanctuary, the area where he spent his final hours. That upstairs has never been an off-the-cuff no-go zone. It was where he lived in seclusion, where his family mourned, and where he passed away on August 16, 1977. Because of that, no tour guide ever climbed those stairs in the public eye. No camera ever recorded beyond that threshold. The upstairs became not just room, it became the divide between history and intrigue. For decades, only a few family members and caretakers have ever passed it. But Riley Keough came of age with the knowledge that there was more there than dust and furniture. It was a life suspended. She remembers a child being warned not to go upstairs and touch anything, but even then, she sensed the burden of what remained behind. The quiet, the presence of absence, his bed still made up, his clothing still in the closet, the bedside clock perpetually frozen in time when paramedics burst in. On one nightstand, a well-worn Bible with handwritten notes, underlined passages, torn prayers. On the other, pills of medication, some still capped. Under the bed, a shoebox scrawled in bold, "Do not open." Inside lay letters Elvis never sent. One was to Lisa Marie. Another hauntingly read, "To whoever finds this after I'm gone." In his second-story study, Riley discovered shelves of books on mysticism, numerology, and theology. Marginal notes showed a searching mind following clues. Some pages were written in the style of prayers, others like a man's frantic ideations who was warring against himself. One sheet had a single word printed repeatedly, "free." To tour those rooms, Riley states, is not to tour a museum exhibit. It is to enter a recollection that never ceased. And yet, as soon as she began to speak of these discoveries, fans returned to one of the strangest and most enduring theories in Elvis lore, the tunnel. For decades, rumors have claimed Elvis faked his death and escaped Graceland through a hidden underground passage. To skeptics, it sounds like a B-movie plot. To believers, the evidence is compelling. Elvis himself had long been paranoid in the 1970s, installing security to sweep for bugs, withdrawing from the public, living virtually full-time on the second floor. Was he anticipating something? Then there was the John Burroughs incident. A man with that assumed name, a name Elvis frequently used when traveling incognito, was allegedly seen getting onto a plane in Memphis in 1978, only 1 year after his death. Coincidence? Or a breadcrumb? Sightings then occurred in Texas, Nevada, even at a DMV office in California. Then there's the gravestone peculiarity. Elvis's legal middle name was Aaron, with a single A. But the tombstone at Graceland has two AS. Fans claim it's not an error, it's a clue. There are no blueprints of a tunnel confirmed. No proof shots. But the Presley family have never categorically dismissed it either. Riley, on her part, does not go along with these speculations. She maintains whatever is upstairs is genuine and much stronger than any speculation. What she talks about most is not exit doors or fake fatalities, but presence. The feeling upstairs Elvis lingers on. She tells of the scent of his cologne still in the air, the presence of him in the walls, his records, his books, his clothes, everything like he had just left the room for a minute. The bathroom where he passed away untouched, a place of quiet and respect that Riley will not tell in great detail. But there was one other room, one that the public was unaware of. She has revealed the quiet room. At the far end of the hallway, Elvis created a meditation room for himself. Floor cushions, soft lights, a sound machine. For Riley, this is where his real self lived. Not the icon or performer, but the man who wanted to be away from a noise. When Lisa Marie Presley died in 2023, Riley inherited not just Graceland, but the entire burden of the Presley legacy. It was not an easy inheritance. Legal issues arose almost right away. Priscilla Presley objected to the trust, and it made headlines worldwide. Though it was settled behind closed doors, it served to remind the public that Graceland is not just a home. It is the foundation of an empire. Hundreds of millions in value, constructed not merely on memory, but intellectual property, licensing, image rights, and narrative control. Riley was only 34 when she stood in charge of one of the most tightly managed legacies in show business history. While some heirs like to be hands-off, Riley has opted for hands-on stewardship. She signs off on exhibit proposals, greenlights archival initiatives, and works directly with preservationists. She has started overseeing the digitization of Elvis's handwritten lyrics, letters, and notes so they can be preserved for posterity with forensic fidelity. But she has also left no doubt that business is not the only thing she's in it for. It's about safeguarding the authenticity of who Elvis was, and that means his flaws and his complications too. She's not interested in peddling a gleamed-up image at the cost of honesty. That dedication to honesty has made her careful when responding to one of the longest-running gossips, secret heirs. For decades, rumors have floated about women alleging Elvis fathered their kids. Some allegations even reached courtrooms. DNA petitions, sold hair samples, requests to exhume the body. None ever came close to meeting the impossible burden of proof needed. Most disappeared as tabloid headlines. But the rumors never quite went away. Neither Lisa Marie nor Riley ever acknowledged them publicly. Their refusal to speak has been louder than any denial. If there were ever a true heir, Riley's choice about what to do next would lie with him. Even more tantalizing than secret heirs might be rumors of secret tapes. Elvis made his last studio recordings in the Jungle Room in 1976, laying down hits such as Way Down and Moody Blue. But insiders long suggested there were others, unfinished songs, personal ballads, snippets late at night. There were some bootlegs that surfaced over the decades. Most were impersonators, but rumor of a lost Elvis archive will not die. A former estate employee once alleged that a reel-to-reel player and some unlabeled reels were found in the second-story study. No pictures, no evidence. Still, it jibes with what we do know about Elvis's practice. He would often record himself in private, doodling melodies and concepts, not for release to the public, but for personal use. His producer once conceded there were recordings Elvis didn't want anyone to ever hear. Maybe those tapes are still up in the bedroom, locked away among the stacks of papers and books. Maybe they will never be listened to, and maybe that was Elvis's plan all along. Because for a man whose sound filled stadiums and radios and hearts everywhere, the only thing he might have wanted to keep safe was the part of himself nobody else ever got to hear or see. That perhaps is the lesson of the locked rooms of Graceland. Some doors are left shut not out of hiding, but out of respect. Not everything has to be opened. Not all secrets have to be shared. To pay tribute to someone's life sometimes means allowing part of it to stay untouched. But owing to Riley Keough, we now understand that behind those sealed doors isn't an empty shrine, not a tunnel or a conspiracy, but life still resonating in every detail. A clock that has never ticked in 48 years. A Bible filled with prayers, letters addressed to no one, or maybe to everyone. A room where silence itself is revered. Elvis Presley's life has always been larger than life. But upstairs at Graceland, in perpetual freeze frame, it's achingly human.